Good evening to all the dignitaries, honorable speakers, and the participants. Today, our association completed 71 years of its long golden journey, fulfilling its versatile activities for the growth and development of the leather industry, mainly on science and technological front. So we assembled here to celebrate our Foundation Day and for the memorial lecture of our founder president, Dr. B.N. Das. Now, I request our President, Mr. Arnab Kumar Jha, to deliver welcome address to welcome our honorable speaker and all the participants.
Thank you, Mr. Malik. Dr. K.G. Sriram, Director CSIR CLRI, Chennai, and Vice President of IITA. Mr. Sushanta Malik, General Secretary IITA. Dr. J. Raghav Rao, Chief Scientist and Head, Anna University, Chennai, Professor ACSIR. Dr. Buddhadev Chattopadhyay, former Principal of Government College of Engineering Leather Technology and former Principal of MCK Institute of Engineering, Howrah. Our executive members, colleagues, students, friends, and others, I, on behalf of the Executive Committee of ILTA, heartily welcome you all to join and participate the 21st Foundation Day celebration today on 14th August 2021. The central point of today's program is the memorial lecture in the honor and name of Professor B.M. Das, the father of leather science and technology in India, the founder president of IIT and the first director of CLRI. It's a great coincidence that after a long time, the director of CLRI will deliver a memorial lecture of its first director, who happens to be the first president of IIT. The title of the lecture is Sustainability of Leather and Footwear Sector. Sustainability as on day has become the counterpart of practices of human civilization and its development. The definition of sustainability is the study of that how natural systems function, remains diverse, and everything ultimately needed for ecology to remain in proper balance. The activists and sustainability professionals will hope to remove the trade barriers in future in true sense so that they benefit everyone, contributing to the economic and social development area of sustainability while promoting good and all-dimensional environmental practices. All the related professionals, scientists and experts from CLRI and some others in India and the whole world of leather science and technology are in the process of analysis, establish the correct and balanced norms and practices. To the best of my knowledge, our director CLRI and his team have been entrusted for working on documentation for sustainability of the leather industry in the correct possible form for all possible angles. ILTA, as like other year, is going to give awards to the toppers in BTech, NameTech exams in leather technology and food technology from Maulana Azad, Abul Kalam Azad University and Technology, Kolkata, and Anna University, Chennai. The award for the best article in GILTA goes to Professor Pankaj Kumar Tyagi, Assistant Professor of Aligarh Muslim University, in the name of J. Srinavar Memorial Award. The Executive Committee of ILTA has decided to felicitate two magnificent efficient persons for the commendable lifelong achievement in leather science, technology, and environment science. They are Dr. Buddhadev Chattopadhyay and Dr. J. Raghav Rao. Anyway, I thank you all to allow me to welcome you. I believe that today's director's memorial lecture will be befitting, commendable, and of course relevant. Lastly, I wholeheartedly thank Dr. Sriram for giving consent and sparing time to deliver the BMW's memorial lecture. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you. Now
Thank you, Mr. Jha.
I request Mr. Malik to.
So let us go for the second chapter. So one of the main component of this Foundation Day celebration is to acknowledge the academic excellence of BTech and MTech students. Now we are going to announce the names of the award winners. The medal and the certificate will be sent to them by courier. Now let me announce the names who have secured first class first position from Macau, that University of Technology from Bengal, and the University of Technology from Chennai is the Anna University. The first award goes to Mr. Devdeep Bhattacharya, winner of Bhimdas Memorial Award for first class first BTech Leather Technology from Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad University of Technology, Kolkata in 2021. Congratulations, Mr. Bhattacharya. We will send you your certificate and medal within a few days. It will reach to your residence. Second award again goes to Devdeep Bhattacharya. The award is the JMD Memorial Award for first class first BTech in leather technology from Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad University of Technology, Kolkata in 2021. Congratulations, Mr. Devdeep again. The third, Miss P. Amritha, winner of Bhimdas Memorial Award for first class first in BTech in leather technology from Anna University, Chennai in 2021. Congratulations, Miss Amrita.
Thank you, sir.
Next, thank you. Next award is going to Miss T. Setha, winner of Bhimdas Memorial Award for first class first in MTech in Footwear Science and Engineering from Anna University, Chennai in 2021. Congratulations, Miss Setha. Wish you all the best. We have another award for the best article that goes to Professor Pankaj Kumar Tyagi, Assistant Professor, AMU, Aligarh, winner of J. Sinaroy Memorial Award for his article titled Socio-Environmentally Sustainable Practices, a review on research methodologies and research gaps, published in August 2020 issue of JILTA, adjudged the best of all articles published in JILTA in calendar year 2020 by a committee consisting of Professor Sanjay Chakraborty, that officer in charge, Government College of Engineering and Leather Technology, and Dr. Deepankar Chaudhary, former scientist and head, RCED, CLRI, Kolkata. Congratulations, Mr. Tyagi. We'll send your award to your house by courier.
Thank you so much, sir.
So now we are going for the second chapter of this program. That is, every year on this day of Foundation Day celebration, we felicitate the people who has contributed and worked for the betterment of the science and technology industry associations throughout their life. This year, the committee of the association decided to felicitate Dr. Buddhadev Chattopadhyay and Dr. J. Raghav Rao. So let me start with Dr. J. Raghav Rao for his lifetime achievements in research and development activities since few decades. Let me present his bio brief. His life is a journey of 3 decades for leather science and technology. Dr. J. Raghav Rao, born on 30th August 1961 in a farmer's family in Nellore, Andhra Pradesh. Beloved parents, late Sri J. Shubha Naidu and late Srimati J. Leelavati. His wife, Dr. K.V. Rajeshwari, she is a medical doctor. His son, Mr. J.B. Sai Bharat, is a marketing engineer, and daughter J. Saravani, she is studying medicines. Dr. Rao is BTech 1982-1984, MTech 1985 to 1987 in leather technology from Anna University. He acquired PhD in 1991. Studies on approaches to the better management of chromium 3 as tanning agents with CSIR under the fellowship of that mentor Dr. T. Ramaswamy. He was RA in chemical laboratory from 1991 to 1993. He joined as senior scientist on 25th June of 1993 and presently chief scientist there. Presently HOD IPCL since 2013 and HOD Leather Technology Anna University since 2016. His area of interest is leather science, technology translation, leather education, wealth from waste, specialty chemicals for leather, cleaner leather processing. Significant contributions of Dr. Rao for leather science and technology. Study of chromium complexes leading to high exhaust products, changing the do-undo process, logics in leather processing to do only processing. Paradigm shift from chemical to bioprocessing of leather. Preservation cum unyielding agent as an alternative to salt and sulfide. First, to understand the role of ionic liquids on the stabilization of collagen. Game-changing water-less chrome tanning technology licensed to 85 tanneries and the technology dedicated to nation by the President of India. Chrome melamine synthetic tanning agents free of formaldehyde, licensed to an Indian chemical company. Developed global best available technologies leading to reduction in water consumption, TDS, S2 and chrome loads to more than 80%. Large publication in global leather research of 130 papers in leather journals. First scientist from India in the environment editorial board of JALCA in 100 years. His significant contributions for leather education created state-of-art academic and research excellence on par with global standards. Catalyzed education and career development of about 1,000 students at different levels. Initiated Flyers Club of the students to be trained to be young entrepreneurs. Led a leather science group of young colleagues to excel in respective research work, leading to several young scientist awardees. Created research ambience in leather science at LIDI, Ethiopia, leading to 5 researchers with first publication in a leather journal. Prepared technology vision document for leather sector 2035 for the material and manufacturing technology sector. Coordinated in hosting international workshop for NAM countries on sustainability of leather sector and 36th ILTCS Congress at Chennai. 34, sorry. Mentoring of students at various levels, 21 PhD, 40 PG and 59 UG. Nurtured leadership among students who are now thought leaders in various capacities. Apart from that, he has many other attainments, which I will mention in short. He is a recipient of several awards and prizes, almost 8 national and international awards from the Institutes of Science and Technology. He is an author of about 305 papers in refereed journals with high index of 37. Citations of about 5,731 and patents profile of 36 patents filed and 19 patents granted in India and 21 patents in US and PCT countries. He has developed a basket of 66 technologies and transferred about 19 technologies to the industry. He had participated in 17 international collaborative projects in various fields. He was involved in the preparation of technology vision document in leather sector 2035. He is an honorary professor and HOD of Department of Science and Technology of Anna University, SIR now. He is a fellow of Indian National Academy of Engineering, Andhra Pradesh Academy of Science, Royal Society of Chemistry, and member of various professional bodies, both India and abroad. Finally, I must mention he is a live member of our association, for which we are proud. And at present, he is the Vice President of Southern Region of ILTA, and he is always actively involved in various activities of ILTA. We wish him a long, healthy, peaceful life because he is going to retire within a few months, but he will be associated with us all along. I request Dr. J. Raghav Rao to say a few words.
Good evening to one and all. I think it gives me immense pleasure to be associated with this function. I am very delighted to hear that I have been selected by the Executive Committee of ILTA for the Lifetime Achievement Award for my contributions in the field of leather science and technology. It's really a proud moment to be a part of ILTA in various forums. It's a pleasure to be associated with this 71st Foundation Day celebrations of ILTA, to be felicitated for the lifetime achievements in leather science and technology. First, let me thank the Executive Committee members of ILTA for the same. I also thank my teachers who have nurtured me during my schooling, colleges, and then in BTech, MTech programs, my mentors, particularly Dr. Ramswamy, and associates who are in chemical lab, which is supposed to be an illustrious lab that been known for chromium chemistry, Dr. Nair, Dr. Mandal, Dr. Aruna, Dr. Kantimati, and many members, Dr. Sriram, and my research associates, my family members, like my father, my mother, my sister, and my brother was very much attached to me, and present family members who are associated, my wife, my children, Vijay, Bharat, and Shravani. And my beloved research scholars, wonderful research scholars I had during my journey. Without research scholars, I don't think I would have achieved this particular recognition at this point of time. It is because of having good students base that has created me all this what is being seen on the screen. The credit goes to my mentors, my family members, and the students who are associated during this 3-decade journey, which made me to be identified in this particular day forum of 71st Foundation Day celebrations of ILTA. I started my career in leather science in 1986. I think he has already briefed. I just touch upon. When I joined the illustrious laboratory of CLRI, which is well known popularly as chemical laboratory for my research project, and then started with chromium. That time, I mean, it was the problem associated was the exhaustion of the chromium was poor, leading to 60 to 70%, leading to, resulting in 30 to 40% wastage of chromium. So that during the journey, we identified the poor affinity species and then converted that through designed alterations into high affinity species to get high exhaust tanning salts. So the entire chrome tanning was done at that particular point of time with water as the medium. Then the various things which he has mentioned, do undo approaches, then ecobenign tanning agents, and then several such things And then new formulation we have looked at, I mean, that is preservation cum unhairing. It's also been developed towards mitigating sodium chloride pollution. Started with water-based chrome tanning, and now the journey is ending with waterless chrome tanning, which has been recognized as one of the pioneering works towards sustainability. It attained pan-India acceptance to commercialization to about 90 tanneries. So the journey started and ending with chromium. That's what is my lifetime achievement. I once again thank all the members of the chemical laboratory and other associates of CSIR CLRI for their tremendous support to gain this recognition. I thank once again the leather fraternity for accepting me for this recognition. Thanks once again to Dr. Arnab Jha, President of ILTA, and Mr. Susant Malik, who is close friend of mine, General Secretary, for this memorable occasion. I thank my family members who are also been associated for my success. See, without, support of the family, I don't think nobody can achieve anything. So the commitment what I had, the sacrifices that my family has made to nurture me, to make me, to mold me, I think that is where Dr. Raghav Rao is presently here in front of you. And my special thanks to Dr. Ramswamy for mentoring me, accepting me during BTech for my project, during MTech for my project, and then nurturing me to reach this level of chief scientist with the recognition of a lifetime achievement in leather science and technology. Thank you once again to all the members who are viewing this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. Now, we will felicitate Dr. Buddhadev Chattopadhyay. Dr. Chattopadhyay is a renowned academician and a research scholar. He was the principal of College of Engineering and Leather Technology of Kolkata and retired as principal of MCKV Institute of Engineering. He has extensive work in research field and numerous publications in national and international technical journals. He is the person who has taken the research work of Government College of Engineering and Leather Technology in global arena. Now, he himself wants to speak on his achievements and excellence. I request Dr. Buddhadev Chattopadhyay to say a few words on his achievements and attainments in his life.
It will be my responsibility also to respond to today's program. At least about maybe 10 days back, the president of the ILTA informed me that ILTA Executive Committee is thinking or deciding to give me a Lifetime Achievement Award. The first thing that came in my mind is why me? And later on, I understood that possibly I could make some contribution into the research and development activity, leaving aside my role as a principal of the Government College of Engineering and Leather Technology. At that crucial period of time, I had two different distinguished and discrete personality at the same time. In the day, as an administrator, from evening to night as a researcher. And the path was tough, really tough. And when I look back, that at least 49 international publication has been achieved, though it's pitifully small as compared to my colleague, Dr. Raghav Rao. But, you know, for the academic institution of our state, it is a matter of something which I think that I could accomplish in order to inspire my students. I have 4,500 students all over the world, and to inspire them, it was necessary. I would be failing my duty if I do not express that at the time when I joined the Government College of Engineering and Laser Technology from Bata India Limited, there was a myth going on that research cannot be done in the undergraduate college. We were undergraduate college then. Myself and Sanjay Chakravarti was sent to CLRI. At that time, it was CLRI only to study master degree. And that was a turning point in my life because I understood at that point that the training was very important, not to keep academically updated, but also to realize the worth of doing research and development. So when he came back at 1988, we thought that somehow this myth has to be abolished and we have to do something on our own. And with this drive alone, along with the mentors who I have mentioned, Professor S.S. Datta, Dr. Z. Kotasek, Dr. D. Ramasamy, Dr. T. Ramasamy, and Dr. S.K. Mukhopadhyay. They were my guiding force. They were my motivational force. And always I had received their blessings and support for which I could do something, a small achievement, leaving aside the tough job of principal of a government college when you are shackled with so many laws like service rules, financial rules, treasury rules, different mandates of AICTE, and then also the different rules and the statute of the affiliating universities. Leaving this aside, doing this job, how the both ends can meet together, was I feel now after retirement that it was a tough job indeed. And to keep the motivation alive was one of the main thing that I could attribute to myself. Having seeing my brief journey, might have noticed that I passed one degree after another degree with a gap of 10 to 12 years. So it was not an easy job, easy journey. It was a very challenging journey. But most challenging was to keep the aspiration alive, to keep the focus alive. And that was possible because of the blessings of my gurus, my mentors, and also the unbound support of my family. My wife, particularly, who has sacrificed a lot and who has relieved me from all those mundane domestic score. Otherwise, it could not be possible. It could be possible that she thought that I am totally worthless in those jobs. But in any case, that was a boon to me in the fact that I found some time to cultivate my mind and to push the things ahead and do something which is worthwhile. I am thankful to Executive Committee of ILTA, to the members of ILTA, and also the august audience who are present here. I am thankful to Dr. Kalarikal Janardhanan C. Ram, Director CSI CLRI, Dr. J. Raghav Rao is my friend, and Mr. Arnav Jha, Mr. Sushant Mollik, and also the awardees. Those awardees who are receiving today the medal, it should be their target also to receive in future the Lifetime Achievement Award. That should be the goal of the young budding technologists who are honored with the B.M. Das Memorial Medal and the other medals in this gathering. And with these things, I am thankful. And ladies and gentlemen, I most humbly submit my regards to all of you. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Buddha.
Thank you, Dada.
Thank you, Dr. Chattopadhyay,
Thanks.
for your memorable speech and for your
Heartfelt greetings also. from
yes,
Indian
yes, yes,
So,
and
I believe your show will continue.
yes, Sanjay. Thank you for your and also for your remarkable contributions to the leather world. We wish you a very happy, peaceful, and healthy life.
Dr. K. J. Sriram is the director of CSIR CLRI and the Vice President of Indian Leather Technology Association. He is also a fellow of the Royal Society of Chemistry UK and the Society of Leather Technologists and Chemists UK. Dr. Sriram holds a bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees in leather technology from the Anna University. He joined the CSIR CLRI as a scientist in 2002 and went on to become the first leather technologist to receive the CSIR Young Scientist Award in 2004. He has had postdoctoral training in nanotechnology at the University of Oklahoma, USA. Dr. Sriram's research includes development of synthetic tanning agents devoid of formaldehyde, rare earth pigments, and so on. He has over 100 publications and 20 patents to his credit. Dr. Sriram has also been involved in science communication, especially in the area of sustainable manufacturing. He is honorary faculty of Anna University and has guided 6 students for their doctoral dissertation in chemistry at the University of Madras and Anna University. The ability to lead teams for achieving high goals is his strength. Recently, he has received the CSIR Technology Award, NRDC Award, and so on. In his capacity as the director of CSIR CLRI, Dr. Sriram leads several important projects, one of which is the development of an Indian footwear hygiene system. Dr. Sriram looks forward to a sustainable leather industry through innovation and innovation-driven technology implementation. We wish longer life to Dr. Sriram and we wish him to deliver today's special B.M. Das Memorial Lecture. Thank you, Dr. Sriram.
Thank you, Mr. Jha, for this wonderful words. And please give me a minute to start sharing my slides.
Yes.
I hope my slides are visible to all of you. And it's first of all, before I start, let me go back and say that on this eve of the Independence Day, and perhaps we should go back and say that Professor B.M. Das, the founding director of the Central Leather Research Institute, and that of the Indian Leather Technologists Association had perhaps in his mind that an independent India would require a stronger leather industry for its growth. No wonder that our forefathers thought of this day in 1950 to establish the Indian Leather Technologists Association, which today remains the integrating factor of all leather technologists in this country. With that words, I lay my pranams to the founding director of the Central Leather Research Institute and also to the president of the Indian Leather Technologists Association. I am thankful to Mr. Jha and to all others who had thought it good to ask me to deliver the B.M. Das Memorial Lecture, which happens to be one of the biggest lectures that one could think of in the leather world in India. I would like to speak about sustainability. Mr. Jha did mention about the fact that sustainability is the key to the sector today. Later on 28th of this month, in honor of Dr. J. Raghav, who would be superannuating, Mr. Schultz, Dr. Covington and others would also be speaking about the global aspects of sustainability. My talk today would rather lay the foundation for those talks. It would be bookish, but just to introduce to you all what India needs to look at when compared to the rest of the world if we need to have a sustainability story for ourselves. With that, may I now go forward and look at what is the sustainability story that we are talking about. The sustainability or sustainable could mean different things to different individuals and manufacturers. It is the ability to maintain something at a certain level or rate. For a product, it can be the ability to produce it or consume it in a way not to harm or destruct the environment, the society, or the economy. People can look at the word sustainable superficially. They can also look at it by going in deeper. Leather is no different. We can look at a sustainable leather by just doing good processing techniques. But in today's circumstances, we also need to look at leather and the sustainability starting from agriculture to the end of life of the product. And this is where exactly the challenges starts. We have to be bothered about the environment. Now, you can be bothered about the environment in terms of the present and the future. 20 years back or 30 years back, we started the discussions on climate change. Today, those things are coming to a reality. Recently, we found one of the worst winters in Canada. Today's newspaper talks about a very hot summer in Europe. All these things are part of the climate change, and whatever we are talking under the category of sustainability also falls into those things. Having said that, we need to now go back and look at what makes a product sustainable. What we need to look at specific aspects of sustainability, and most of the time we go back and look at it only in terms of the environment. Every one of us have been looking at this from not to deplete the natural or non-renewable resources, not to harm the environment, and not to process leather in a socially irresponsible manner. This was our definition for sustainability. However, when we make a sustainable product, say a footwear or a leather garment, we also have to go back and look at the processes. Here, it becomes very important that we process not by means of not by just the means of how we are processing, but also to include the vendors, the materials, the production methods, our hiring options, our business decisions, and so on and so forth. All of them are likely to contribute to the carbon footprint. Corporate social responsibility is one among those things. How do you offset your carbon credits? By planting trees is something which the corporate world is looking at. And also, how would you compensate for the environmental impact? Today, unlike leather, many other industries have already started labeling their products. When we go to the market and pick up certain things, we find in the cover of those products labels like recycled material, renewable resources, biodegradables, ethics in labor, and so on and so forth. Now, we may have to go back and see whether is leather and leather products also ready to carry such labels. Because unless otherwise we say, how will the consumer know that we are different? Now, when I have been talking about consumers, and consumers in general have been talking about sustainable living. In essence, this means a earth harmony living or a net zero living. Essentially, the consumer of today wants a lifestyle which does not deplete the earth's resources. Going green has become an option of strength. It is a practical and flexible approach, and it actually talks about our commitment to the environment without affecting the economy. It takes control of the social consequences of going green. Obviously, the natural assets can also deliver the full economic potential on a sustainable basis. And sustainable living is something which the consumers of today are looking at. So who is a millennial consumer? These are the people who embrace the sustainable products in a long term. There is a segment of the industry I've made multiple profits by going with sustainable products. Once we enter into some of our supermarkets, we find organically made products and many people end up buying them. So predominantly, the areas where sustainability has really picked up is those with water and energy consumption, because it also results in a savings in terms of economy for the consumer. Of course, we also have to look at that out of the 65% of the population which embrace sustainable products, that means they talk about sustainability, only 26% actually practice it. The intention to the gap is generally associated with the price. So the social influence is likely to change, and leather sector needs to take a view of this millennial green consumer. And even though this is slightly off topic, we have to also understand that the millennial green consumers are being targeted by the so-called leather-like materials. And this is where leather needs to come back and project itself. Now, how do we make our social behaviors known to others? There are taglines like good for you and the environment being used by many companies. We also in our homes do this by putting outside the homes the garbages segregated as organic and the rest in two different colored bins. Our hotel industry has been very successful by carrying signals such as, if you don't want your towels to be washed, please hang this card outside your door. There are pins which symbolizes the commitment to energy conservation. Companies have been joining together to tell their sustainability story. And this is something which leather industry has to look at. So what is a product stewardship? This is something which is very, very relevant from our point of view, because it is something which takes you from the producer and takes you all the way to the end of the life management. As of today, most of our manufacturing systems in the leather world is only up to the gate of the industry. We don't know what happened to our product beyond that. We need to go ahead and start understanding where is our product ultimately landing in. Can we develop a management plan to take back our material, or go for a biodegradability pathway for it, or a recycling pathway for it? Of course, the cost has to be covered by the producer himself, but this adds a long way in terms of sustainability. So in terms of leather industry, let us look at what is that goes into the green designing of our leather products. All these things are known to us. We know that we have to avoid waste. We know that our material efficiency has to go up. We have systems to control hazardous materials. We need to maximize our energy resources. But the next few are where we have not concentrated on, especially in India. The use of renewable sources. One of the classical renewable sources that I can talk about today is that Indian leather industry is yet to capture the solar energy or the wind energy that is very well available to us. We are still dependent on the traditional energy resources. Using local sources. I will come back to this later, because more the distance that your raw material travels, more the transport related carbon footprint would have to be looked at, and therefore using local resources becomes more important. Our leather products have to be designed for recycling. We need to ensure that all of the product need not go into the waste management system. Possibly a few of the components can be taken out and recycled either into our industry or any other industry. Another aspect which is coming up is to the design to degrade. It's a paradox for the leather industry. We make the leather not to degrade, But now we have to make a product which would degrade under special conditions. And this is something which we will have to go back and look at. Finally, but not the least, our products has to be cost efficient. Now, way back in 2010, in the leather research industry get together, Professor Hans-Peter German did talk about sustainability under the B.M. Das Memorial Lecture. At that point of time, Dr. German said that leather manufactured by itself is recycling. The globalization of leather production, according to him, must be updated by taking into account factors like raw material sourcing. Today, for the LWG grading and other things, we are looking at the same aspect under the term traceability. Sustainability of leather manufactured, according to him, can be increased using resources such as water, fossil fuels, and other natural resources sparingly. And this is something which our industry today needs to push more and more forward. Now, an opposite view to this is from the Higgs Material Sustainability Index. There, they do not consider that leather is a byproduct. Their argument is that leather generates more income, more economically more viable product than the meat or the skin and those kind of things. And therefore, leather has to be considered as a co-product. They also attribute a lot of environmental impact issues such as putrefaction, and therefore they grade the leather as one of the worst materials in the scenario of things. Of course, I will come back to this later. Our leather associations have actually written to Higgs saying that this is not acceptable to us. Now let me go back and once again tell you, look at what are our resources. Our resources are the hides, the skins, chemicals, water, and energy. These are our inputs. We emit, in addition to the making of the leather, solids, liquids, and gases. There are two other aspects which we have not showcased properly in terms of our sustainability story. First one is the quality and appeal, the durability. Leather industry has been taking it as a standard practice to think that everybody knows that leather is durable. But in today's world, we need to showcase how much more is leather durable than the leather-like materials. We are, as I said in the past, the product use after the end of use is still not detected. India, if you go back and look at it, in the past had cobblers sitting on our platforms. We never used to throw away a shoe till the cobbler comes back and tells us this is beyond repair. Even then, we would leave our shoe with the cobbler so that he can take some pieces out of it and use it to stitch another shoe from by himself. But today, the absence of the cobbler on the streets have led us to throw away our shoes, even when there's a small stitch gone or an adhesive gone, and we go and buy a new product altogether. This has been against sustainability. So I've been talking about sustainability, and for those who are new to the system, let me just define the carbon footprint. It is a total amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases that is emitted over the full life cycle of the process or product. It is a full life cycle, which means it is up to the end of life. For leather, it would start with the upstream agriculture, the core processes in the tanneries, downstream processes such as wastewater treatment, waste management, air emission, and so on. We also need to take into account transport, water consumption, and those kind of things. Once again, going back to hides and skins, they will be the maximum component of the carbon footprint. Our processes and other things will not be as high as the carbon footprint that would come from the raw hides and skins. Unfortunately, in the absence of appropriate data, we in India are relying on the standard values that have been generated using studies carried out in the West. India still does not have a good data on the carbon footprint of our agriculture and livestock management. Chemicals we already know, and we already know this very well. We are now talking about zero discharge of hazardous chemicals. The second thing is to promote the circular economy. We need to make leather chemicals out of waste of other industries. We may also have to see whether our end products can become the raw material for some other industry. A classical example is one of the works in the Central Leather Research Institute, where the black liquor generated by the paper industry is becoming a synthetic tanning agent based out of lignin for our leather industry. In the same sense, our lime-based fleshings can become activated carbon and for use in sole and other manufacturing processes. So these are areas of circular economy which we need to target. Water, we are already in there and we have done tremendously well, but all our colleagues in the industry need to put more efforts into this. Finally, but not the least, our companies now have to start looking towards ISO 14025 and start certifying our carbon footprint. Now, let us go back and look at whatever is the data that is available with respect to us. Carbon dioxide emission from the livestock is a major component. The sector is set to emit 7.1 billion tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per year. And 14.5% of this 7.1 billion tons is attributed to human-induced greenhouse gas emissions. We have to increase the efficiency of our livestock supply chain to reduce these emissions. As on today, India does not have a good livestock supply chain management. The logistics of supply chain connecting the farmer to us, the input of the tannery, is not at all clear. India has a potential to reduce 85.5 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. This is achieved through efficient fertilizer usages, zero tillage, efficient water management in our agriculture, and so on and so forth. Just look at this chart. One of those India bioscience related data which is available to us. One adult buffalo requires 4 kilograms of green fodder per day, which to make that 4 kilograms of fodder, you require 1,844 liters of water. It requires 7.47 kilograms of dry fodder, which is around 1,000 liters of water to make it. It requires 0.36 kilograms of concentrates, and this is around 273.6 liters of water. Ultimately, if we were to total the total buffalo in this country, we are talking about more than 1 trillion liters of water that is required to maintain or for the growth of our buffaloes. And all these things have to be looked into properly. A slight deviation into the scheme of things, people have been talking about veganisms. There are people across the world who keep coming back and saying that meat consumption is on the reduction, which in turn would reflect that the skin availability for us would be on the reduction. However, some data which is available to us indicates that the meat consumption has not reduced per se. It is actually more or less retained some, and in some cases, actually the meat trade has actually gone up as well. So this would mean that the raw hides and skin availability for this industry would continue, and this industry would now have to look at how do we manage it better. Going back to the livestock, let us just look at our ox. 2,181 kilograms carbon dioxide is attributed to the methane that is generated. Manure-based carbon methane is the next there at 198, and the feed that we provide to the animal contributes to the greenhouse gases to the extent of 505. Now, if we were to able to manage this manure by means of converting it into biogas, it would drastically reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. Certain papers published elsewhere from America suggest that if the animal feed were to contain seaweed supplements, this was the data that they collected in India, the feed were to contain seaweed supplements, then the feed input would reduce, but the product output remain more or less the same. And that would then reduce this 2,181 drastically. So which essentially means that the leather industry needs to start working with the animal husbandry systems to ensure that the emissions from the livestock are better managed so that the leather industry sustainability story becomes better. The Higgs index, which I spoke to you earlier, talks about environmental management, energy and greenhouse gas emissions, air emissions, water emissions, and so on and so forth. And the counter view that IULTCS and others had said about was that the data score, which they gave the very high score, which I pointed out to you, was based on 2013 data, and it was improper to determine the entire environmental burden to hides and skins. And it also did not differentiate between the types of leathers. One aspect that we all have to look at here is that the splitting of the hides and the use of splits was not accounted at all. But actually, we do reuse our splits into various other forms of leathers as well. So this is also again a cradle to the factory approach, and we have not looked at the leather products beyond that. So the next way of looking at it was the EU product environmental footprint category. Here again, they did slightly better. And in terms of that, they already calculated and kept what would be the attributes of feed cultivation, feed product preparation, animal breeding, energy water consumption during animal raising, manure management, and so on and so forth. They brought this aspect of professional slaughtering and flaying, preservation. They considered all the various types of preservations and also looked at the transportation of raw hides and skins from the slaughterhouse to the tannery. This study, in terms of all that's put together, they also developed a good Excel-based sheet where you could put in the data and capture how much was your carbon footprint for various types of leathers that you make. Some companies in the Europe have actually done these calculations. Already, we are way behind on such things. The UNIDO came out with the leather carbon footprint document in 2017, and they attributed values for various methods of transport. For instance, if your material were to come to you by an airplane, it would result in 500 grams per metric ton of carbon dioxide per kilometer that you would use, and so on and so forth. But again, the one factor which I mentioned to you about, look at the energy one. The photovoltaic, or in another sense to us, the solar energy conversion would actually give us a very, very low carbon dioxide emission. And we do have a large resource of solar energy within us in this entire country, and we should possibly start looking at them. The carbon footprint for the base also have been considered, and they have also been put up. You will find that if the hides and skins got putrefied, it would end up to be a very large amount of carbon dioxide emission, which is actually also tells that if you don't convert the hides and skins to leather and just throw away the hides and skins into the landfill, it would end up releasing a larger quantity of carbon dioxide. They also talked about how to calculate the various carbon footprints of the base. For aerobic activated sludge, it was the total organic carbon, the methane for the anaerobic processes, and so on and so forth. And the solar energy, they calculated it at 0. Now, these are the computed values. Now, if we were to take all these ways and make value-added products out of this, say for instance, the buffing dust or the shaving materials is put back into the manufacture of basic chromium 3 sulfate, you would have actually saved these carbon dioxide emissions. It's very easy to convert chrome shavings into basic chromium 3 sulfate while doing the manufacture from the dichromate processes and chromate processes, and this actually should be practiced. Similarly, we should also look at better means of utilizing these waste so that the carbon dioxide emissions from them can be completely dropped off. As on today, India has the technologies for utilizing these things, but the practice is something which has not yet come up properly. Live examples, if you go back and look at the website, the JBS website today talks about what they call as a kind leather, and they take a holistic approach, what they call as a 360-degree approach. And they have, by working with the raw hides and skins and all that, they have gone ahead and said that the selection of the hide part, which is best suited for the processing, is selected right in the beginning itself. That means the raw hides and skins itself is cut into somebody by name Kanak Kumar. Can you please stop scoring on the screen, please? So they have already take only the area which is really good for processing right at the raw stage itself. By this process, they have achieved a 54% water reduction, 20% reduction in energy, and 28% reduction in the leather chemicals. By properly managing the logistics between the abattoir and the tannery, they have been able to cut down 65% of carbon dioxide emissions. Today, they are talking about a leather ID being given to almost all of their materials, and which also would say the animal acquired originated from which farm. Till today, we were all thinking that in India, this concept is not practicable. But today morning, one of the news items that was there in the science systems of this country was that the Honorable Minister for Science and Technology had actually released a chip which was to be embedded in all the Indian cows, the Indian, the traditional Indian cows like the Onkol and those kind of things. They are planning to inbuild this chip into all those animals, into all those cows, and therefore they are also collecting all the parameters of where is this animal grazing to anything and everything. We have already done this for all our tigers in our system. Therefore, the technology is available. All that is required is a mass upscale of this technology, and therefore the traceability would then come up. Let me now shift goals from leather to footwear, as my time is coming to a close. The footwear scenario becomes more complicated because the footwear is not just of leather. We also have to now go back and look at the sustainability of all other man-made products, PU, PVC, etc., the fabrics, the wood, rubber, and all those things, including the metal parts which goes into the manufacture of a shoe. Again, the components would change with the design of our shoe. Way back in 2013, somebody had done a study of what would be the total carbon dioxide equivalent that is generated from various types of material that goes into a shoe. And they come back and say that 50% of the carbon dioxide emissions in a shoe is actually from polyurethanes, and the next highest is polyesters. Therefore, all these components which go into the shoe also will have to be added up when we are talking about the sustainability of our footwears. Again, as I said, it's a much more complicated process than leather, because in the lifestyle calculation of footwear, you have to look at the raw material acquisition. From where is your raw material coming up? You will have to get the inputs from those people as to what was their methodologies and mechanisms, production of input materials that go into the footwear industry, the component manufacture, which in our country is done elsewhere. We buy the components into the footwear industry. Therefore, their contribution will have to be studied. The assembly and packaging of footwear is another aspect. One thing which is now becoming very, very sensitive is the packaging manufacture, because it involves paper, which is a wood product. And if it ends up doing deforestation, then we are stuck at that packaging issues as well. Then comes the distribution to the consumer, the use phase, and the end of life phase. One of the publications which was there actually looked at 7 different types of footwear being made. And in almost all of them, you would find that the stage 3 or the footwear component manufacture, followed by the footwear assembly and packaging, contributed to the largest percentage of carbon dioxide emission. And therefore, in this particular instance, we will have to actually go back and see, depending on the style, how the changes are happening. If you just go back and look at children's footwear with a TPU sole versus a women's footwear with the natural rubber sole, look at the difference completely. You're shifting from stage 3, which is the footwear component aspect, to the footwear assembly aspect in terms of the carbon dioxide generation. So this is something which we will have to take into consideration when it comes to the footwear manufacture. So to conclude, the data which is available to us on the design strategies, in the UK alone, it is said that 1.2 million tons of shoe waste is generated every year. Of this, only 15% goes to second-hand or recycled reuse. 85% of them are ending up in landfills. This is the biggest challenge that we are talking about today. The ways to minimize have been attributed by several researchers, and they talk about better material selection, alternative manufacturing methods, minimal wasting, multi-purpose use, minimal designing, easy care and repair. Now comes the 3 aspects which are very important. Custom design. Why is that custom design is coming up? The custom design is coming up all of a sudden because when you make a shoe which fits you very well, and you pay that extra money to get a customized shoe, you would care for it and retain it for a slightly longer period than a off-the-shelf shoes. Therefore, the emission from that would come down. Another aspect which we may have to look at, with all the kinds of the good design schools that are available to us, we may start looking at designing for disassembly. Practically, it says how that we should be in a position to break down our shoe into its original components, and whichever components can be recycled. One of the classical examples that they point out is the steel shank or whatever which generally goes into the shoe, and that could become a good source for recycling. Of course, the whole talk today has been designing for low carbon footprint. So there are a lot of things that we can do with respect to footwear. The last three items are very easily doable, especially the design for disassembly is something which India can really focus on when it comes to building our sustainability story for the footwear sector. So keeping that in mind, let me just try wind up. The way forward for India is that we need to move a little bit away from riding high on skilled manpower and low production costs to focusing on economic sustainability. Today, our industries need to start looking at productivity, and we need to, but by that means, we will also end up getting lesser wastages. Higher productivity would not mean loss of economics. Mr. Mohammad Wasim, I'm sorry, if you allow me, I will continue my lecture because you are scratching on my PPT. So we need to look at productivity. We need to look at the sustainability of which would in turn push the manufacturing to mitigate the environmental challenges. The TIFAC document, the Department of Science and Technology TIFAC document, Vision 2035, which Dr. Rao and me had co-authored, actually talks about that once the Indian leather industry starts focusing on sustainability, then our focus on environmental aspects would start coming down. By 2035, Indian leather industry would keep the environmental issues on the backside. And by focusing on cleaner manufacture rather than, waste management, wastewater management, the Indian leather industry, by focusing on sustainability, would automatically gain the environmental and social sustainability. This is the key for the Indian leather sector. And we need to have a roadmap to say, how do we improve our sustainability by doing it cleaner and greener? Recently, Mr. Wolfram Scholz is also here. CLRA did prepare the best available technologies for leather manufacturing from across the world. So if you go back and look at it, today we have a basket of technologies for each and every process that we do in leather manufacturing. And each tannery, depending upon the way they are processing and how they are processing, you can choose from the basket which is the best technology that would make your leather processing cleaner and greener. By addressing that, you would automatically start addressing sustainability. Sustainability must move to become the core of our business and not an isolated act to satisfy our consumers. The MSME, which is our major part, because we are 98% MSME today, is dependent on the demand-supply relationship. Here is where we have to start understanding what is the consumer desires and demands. The leather products and leathers that we make should meet the aspirations of the consumers. Unless otherwise, if the consumer aspiration is for sustainable products, Indian leather industry has to deliver that. Otherwise, we will be lost out in the whole game of things. So this is what I wanted to stress about. And finally, to conclude, the Indian Leather Technologies Association, with the largest assembly of minds focused on the success of the Indian leather sector, would be the core to gain sustainability in this industry. ILTA is poised very well because it has a good partnership with all the leading education and research organizations in this country. And it also has a connect to the IULTCS. ILTA needs to play the central role of creating a mindset for change in our sector. The sustainability story of Indian leather can take our aspirations to be on the top of the leather world tomorrow. Thank you very much. Before I close, may I thank once again Shri Arnab Jha, Shri Susinto Malik, my teachers. One of my teachers have been honored today. And I'm extremely thankful to all my teachers and mentors for preparing me to be a recipient of this B.M. Das Memorial Lecture. And my colleagues and my students who are working in these aspects, I really thank each and every one of them and thank every one of you for patient listening. And I close by paying my pronouns to the founding father of our institutions, Professor B.M. Das. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sriram, for lucid lecture and illustrative. We request you, if possible, to forward the article in the printed format so that it can be mentioned in the journal.
Sure,
Thank
sir.
you.
I will do that. I will do that. Sure.
Now I request Mr. Sushanta Mullik to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Jha. I think I am audible now. We are at the end of today's celebration event. We are extremely grateful to Dr. Sriram for delivering the B.M. Das Memorial Lecture, one of the most prestigious lecture of leather field. As usual, the speech of Dr. Sriram was extensively analytical and useful in context to the present scenario. Thank you once again, Dr. Sriram, for enriching our knowledge on sustainability, because that is the only thing which can do for the future of the industry. We should focus on it, and I assure you, ILTA will definitely focus on this topic in consultation with you as usual. We are proud to felicitate today two eminent nationally and internationally reputed scientists, Dr. J. Raghav Rao and Dr. Buddhadev Chattopadhyay. Thanks to them for giving us this opportunity, and on behalf of our association and the entire leather fraternity, we are proud to acknowledge your immense contribution in academic and research field. We wish you more success in life. We are also proud to acknowledge the academic excellence of the students of BTech and MTech of both Makaut and Anna University, and the author of the best article in JILTA in 2020. We wish a bright and successful career for all of you. We express our heartfelt thanks to all the participants present today on Zoom platform and Facebook Live. As a last line, we are grateful to let Dr. B.M. Das for founding our Indian Leather Technology Association with a strong foresight for giving service to the industry, academic institutes, and the nation. We are working with his vision for the last 71 years, and we will continue to do so. He will always be remembered as father of Indian leather science and technology. We once again salute to him. We once again express our sincere thanks to all the participants today to celebrate our day of foundation. Thank you very much.